Hello drummers, musicians, music lovers everywhere. Drum teacher Tim Connolly is here today with a very special video. This is my tribute to Neil Peart, to the legend himself, the professor, the man that influenced me so heavily in music and drumming. It's difficult for me to actually believe and comprehend that he is gone, but I wanted to do something special in honor of Neil and to let everyone know how much Neil has affected me musically and to some degree as a person because of the lyrical content of the Rush tunes. They have affected me as well, all in a positive way. Neil was a fantastic songwriter, fantastic drum orchestrator, drum soloist. I loved all the grooves on the Rush tunes, and I have always taken Neil's style and incorporated it into my own to some degree. Neil is my favorite drummer of all time. I remember first hearing Rush in the late 70s and being hooked. I got to see Rush perform 4 times, with the first time being on the Moving Pictures tour in the early 80s, and the last time on the R40 tour, which was their last tour around 2011. I saw them in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, which is where I live. Hamilton, Ontario, Canada was where Neil was born as well. So I actually live in the same place that Neil was born, and he was raised up the street from me in Port Dalhousie, which is right near St. Catharines, which is about half an hour from here. I've been to Lakeside Park, spent some time there, and it's an amazing, amazing place. Musically, Neil has challenged me on unbelievable levels, trying to play those Rush tunes with various Rush tributes that I've been fortunate enough to be involved with over the years has been quite a challenge, to say the least. Anyways, please enjoy my picture/video tribute to the legendary Neil Peart. Enjoy.
We began what has become now a 22-year odyssey together through many records and endless touring for years through the 70s and the 80s and now into the 90s. And I reached a point after 30 years of playing, after 20-odd years with the band, that I was feeling a little bit restless, not jaded or smug or overconfident by any means, but just that I'd honed a style of my own, and I felt like I was doing that style, playing myself about as well as I could, and I was unsure what to do with that information once I realized it. So it happened in the course of things that I had a bit of time between projects in the early 90s and produced a tribute to Buddy Rich, working with big band musicians and some of the finest drummers in the world. So in the course of this, I met Steve Smith, and I'd known him for a few years. We'd worked together on a Jeff Berlin record a few years ago, but suddenly I noticed a massive growth in his playing, in his musicianship, and the musicality that he brought to his work, playing on the Buddy Rich sessions. And I asked him, Steve, what's your secret? And he gave me a one-word answer, Freddie. So I got curious about this, and I thought, well, what could a guy like Freddie Gruber do for me? Would it be worthwhile after 30 years of working away on my own and learning from all the other drummers of the world? Maybe it's time I should take a little bit of time here and work with a teacher and see what might transpire. So I arranged to spend a week with Freddie in New York City about a year and a half ago now, and in the course of that, he watched me play for about 1 minute and then proceeded to give me a whole set of exercises and a whole new approach to the drums physically that really demanded that I start all over again. And that was a bit daunting in two ways. First of all, after 30 years to be starting all over again, but secondly, because it would require me to start a discipline of practicing too that I hadn't had the luxury of with all these years of touring and recording and being devoted to that. But I did find the discipline to devote myself to this, to reinventing myself. So I started practicing every day down in the basement, went back to traditional grip for the first time in 30 years, and started learning the fluidity of motion that Freddie preached, and started trying to apply it to the way that I like to play the drums. And in the course of a year's time, I'm working on this day by day, meeting with Freddie every 6 months or so for a few days for an update, and then, as Freddie would say, to put the pieces together, take this thing a little further. So I was fired with his enthusiasm, and I've always liked the definition of enthusiasm as being infected with the God. And if there's anybody that's enthusiastic about music or drumming and infected with the God of drumming, it's certainly Freddie Gruber. So I found that I was making progress, and I could feel the growth, I could feel the fluidity coming into my playing, and the finesse of just practicing every day gave me a level of facility on the drums that I hadn't had before. And the other guys in the band started to talk about, you know, it's time we got together and started working on a project. And at that time I had to say, no, I'm going to need more time to do this. I have to give it at least time to mature, time for these things to take hold in my playing before I start trying to apply them. So I put off the band for another 6 months until I would have had a full year of working on Freddie's principles and working on the process of reinventing myself after 30 years, after all, was a fairly huge undertaking. So it came around to the end of that time, and then I'm working with the band again, wondering, you know, I've completely reinvented myself fine, but perhaps the previous invention, which was invented with the band, is more suitable to the music and more suitable to the band's approach. So even then I had to face the risk that all of that practicing every day and all of that work may have been, in the grand scheme of things of my professional work with the band, may have been for nothing, but certainly it was a gamble worth taking, and in the final result it turned out to be very much a part of our music and very much germane to the way I've always played. It just became me plus. All these new elements and some of the things that I've been hoping to achieve in greater fluidity in my playing and less stiffness, less rigidity in timekeeping and so on, I was able to accomplish with a smoother, more relaxed and more rolling approach to the drums while keeping the power and the action-packed busyness that I'm kind of known for, and is certainly a reflection of my character. Among the many things that I used to think were true and came to think perhaps were not true have to do with the setting up of the drum set. I used to believe that it was most important to have everything as close under me as I could so that I wouldn't be unbalanced, so that everything I would be right on top of. Then through Freddie's ideas of round orbital motion, a beat being a point in a circle rather than a dot on a line, he got me into the idea of making things flow. The space between the beats is what counts. It happens in the air. Almost all of drumming, as with dancing or piano playing, it all happens in the air. So what he concentrates on is what happens between the beats. And as part of this circular motion, I came to realize that it was more important to get things comfortably part of that circle rather than right under me. So I moved the throne back a little bit away from the bass drum and the snare so that I had more room to have the circles happening between, raised the snare drum quite a bit higher so that again I was playing to the drum head instead of, we used to play like golfers, I think, playing straight through the drum, aiming for the floor. So all beats were just, you know, going through the surface of the drum head. With Freddie's approach, the drum head is the end of the motion. Everything happens in the air, and the end of your circular motion is on the drum head or the cymbal. So all the circles have to happen above it. The ride cymbal I used to always have over here. Again, it seemed sensible because I would have a room for a tom-tom there, and I could play right over here fine. But when it came time to put these circular motions together, it was really not sensible, and I recognized that it would be better to do the traditional thing and have the ride cymbal here. And as with the toms, everything's set up ergonomically, the relationship of the machine to the person. Everything is set up for fluid motion so that I'm never having to be stilted or in any way cramped in my motions. Everything is a natural flow up and down through the toms to the cymbals. Everything can be part of that circle.
for watching this video, my tribute to Neil Peart. I have some other videos that also feature Neil, and I mention Neil. I do some reaction videos to Neil, and Neil, of course, is in my top 10 of greatest drummers of all time list as well. So you have to check those videos out. To say that Neil is near and dear to my heart is a complete understatement. This video actually means more to me than any video that I've done thus far. Please like, share, comment. Let me know your favorite Neil moments, your favorite Rush tunes, your favorite shows, anything to do with Rush and Neil. Please subscribe and check out my channel. I've got lots of great lessons, lots of videos. I have some more videos coming. I'm always putting out new material. Today was very special. Tribute to Neil. Thank you very much for watching. Keep drumming. See you soon.